Welcome to the new Overlords Podcast, where we talk about video games news and what's fun. I'm Max, and with me is someone whose ideas are always big, even when she's very, very small, my co-host, Sema. Hello there, Sema.
Hello, Max. Yeah, that's right. I have spent some time this week being very, very small.
Oh my gosh, I'm small. What is? I think that's a quote from the game. I can't believe it. I'm small. And one of the recordings from the professor. Yes, we've been playing Grounded, which is basically Honey, I Shrunk the Kids turned into a survival game. And we're going to talk all about that because, yeah, that's been pretty fun, hasn't it?
Well, I mean, isn't Honey, I Shrunk the Kids a survival game anyway?
It's not a game, but it's real
Okay.
life.
Yes, it's really.
I mean, it was a movie. So it's like Honey, I Shrunk the Kids movie, which is a survival story, yes, turned
Yes.
into a survival game. But not Honey, I Shrunk the Kids. It's not licensed IP. Although, geez,
No.
it practically could have been. Why did they never make that? There probably was a Honey, I Shrunk the Kids game. Anyway, we're going to talk about that quite a bit. We're also going to talk about some other good stuff that we heard just 2 hours ago.
Good news, everyone!
What did we hear, Sema? What happened today at 1 p.m. Central that's relevant to our interests?
It was the live stream, Star Wars The Old Republic 4, release 7.5.
Yes, 7.5. Oh, I forgot Desperate Defiance is the name of the story update. The story chapter that we're getting. Desperate Defiance. So what'd you think of the stream overall? And we'll get into a couple of the bullet points.
I mean, it was a live stream. I thought it went really smoothly. It wasn't as elaborate as some have been in the past, but I'm okay with that because they can't. You got to be in it for the marathon, man.
Yeah, it was good. It was good.
Communication is not an event; it's a thing you do all the time.
And I think it didn't need to have a whole bunch of extra bells and whistles, like, showing off other people and talking, because there was specific content that they could release, which was exciting enough.
I think it was fun for Eric to be on so much of the time. Like, I'm glad that Caitlin was celebrating her birthday.
Happy birthday, Caitlin.
Yes, might feel the loss of her on the live stream, but it was also fun to have so much Eric because he's so ebullient and he's so happy and he just makes everything sort of funny.
Yeah, he does a good job. He does a good job at his job, and he does a good job with communicating as well, where he got to start.
Yeah.
So we're getting some story update. Desperate Defiance is what they're talking about in the story parts. What looks like, we're going to Hutta, and they're doing the thing again where, from a settings perspective, they've taken a chunk of a planet and built out sort of like a new zone on that planet, just like they did for the last update when they made Keston's Landing on Ord Mantell. They're making a new area on Hutta where a bunch of the story is going to take place. So they outlined a few new characters. Did you like what you saw for the characters so far? What did we see? A Rodian, who I thought looked pretty cool. It was a cool design.
A Rodian and an Evokai.
I like this Rodian. Oh, the Rodian's got the goggles too, which you'll be able to get.
And I like hearing what Ashley has to say about them. It's a sort of like makes them more interesting.
Yeah.
And she said he speaks Basic, which I think that's going to be the first Rodian NPC character in cinematics that spoke Basic.
Which will be nice for us because that means we're going to get to...
Yeah.
It's probably going to be voiced.
Yeah, it'll have to be voiced. Well, yeah, parts of it. That's okay. That's where my mind went, is that they voiced it. But yeah, I'm looking forward to that aspect of it. And then she didn't say the same thing about the Evokai, but I wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah, the Evokai have been voiced in the past. They've spoken Basic when we've met them on Hutta.
Okay.
In the original story.
That's right.
Because when you start either
but it's just all text.
uh, an
No,
operative.
that's not true.
No, because there's the
Yeah,
guy who
yeah,
you,
you're right.
yeah,
Yeah.
and then
Anyway,
Yusindu the Hut, another hut model. I like the markings and I like the little armor pieces. I don't know what's like strapped onto the neck and the armband and this little nose piece. I kind of really like that nose piece. So I got to see what's going on there. I like an updated model.
he doesn't
Those will
want to
be some of
lose
the main
his
characters. And
toes.
then, of course, Sahar, right? We got
Mhm.
even a little story trailer, just a little clip. It sounds like this whole part of the story is going to be focused around, oh, look at Sahar's model. It looks so good. I wish they would do an update to all the characters. Update to all character models when? Let's not talk about the chat room and the live stream because we were ranting about it before the show and show prep. But look how great her textures look, and they have the tech that they could do it. It's just an immense amount of work. I'm not actually asking for them to do that. Focus on the content. But Sahar looks really good. I like looking at the character model. Uh, so it sounds like in the way they've set it up, Sahar, who's been this character throughout this era of 7.0, she's been roped into she's sort of lost her way. She's been roped into Hedda Cole and what she's got going on. Malgus sort of set her on some path, and she's been kind of lost. This desperate defiance is her defiance, I believe. So she's making a decision here, and they set it up as she doesn't like what's happening. She doesn't want Hedda Cole to have control of this holocron. Nobody even really specifically really knows everything that it does or it's for. Only Malgus supposedly does. And she decides that she's going to come to you, the character, the alliance leader, or whatever you call yourself these days, you, and ask you to assist her in achieving what she would like to achieve for once.
I mean, I'm glad she's doing this because at first she was motivated by, wanting to help slash get close again with her brother, which he didn't really want.
Right?
And then in trying to do that, she ended up getting close to Hedda Cole, which wasn't really her choice either, but she just kind of got into that by not getting into it, right?
Right.
So
And her brother
now
kind of
she's
forced her into that
right.
and wasn't
And
really
and
fair
ag
of him.
and in the end, he was mad at her for him having done that, which
Right.
is totally not fair. So anyway, I'm glad she's at least it seems like she's going to make some moves on her own behalf that
Yeah.
she thinks is the right thing to do, maybe.
Which would be great because I've been waiting for her to have some agency and come into her own because in this, what we're watching right now is the original trailer for 7.0. And she, for better or for worse, has so much more personality in this 5-minute trailer. Blur, it's like
Right.
a blur style trailer than she's had in the stories so far, for good reason. I mean, that's part of her story as well. But she's sort of really got lost from here, where she comes across like that little smirk and smile. She comes across as this confident Jedi Padawan, and sort of really gets broken down by the loss of her master. She's finds out her brother was turned into a slave and she didn't even realize that that's what happened to him afterwards. She feels guilty for that. She's like lost, lost, lost. So I would like her to sort of step up and become more of what we see here, to sort of grow into what maybe a little more confident of a character and have a little bit more agency, and someone we can maybe a little more Satele Shan like, I think, because Satele Shan's such a great character. Going head to head, toe to toe with Malgus. That's so cool. I like those kind of characters better.
Yeah.
What? Why don't you be toughen up? Toughen up, girl. The other thing that they're going to do is continue with their art modernizations. What did you think of those clips of Hutta?
I was so distracted by the music. I thought they were beautiful, but I I felt like I have never listened to the Hutta music before because I'm like, "What is this music?" But I guess I don't know. I have to say I do play quite a bit with my s with the music turned off. Yeah, it looked cool. It looked cool. I'm not a big fan of Hutter to begin with, so any
Right.
improvement is appreciated.
And you're not supposed to be. It's
Right.
a
Right.
swampy, nasty planet that the Hutts have polluted and corrupted, but they've done such a good job in doing a modernization of the environment that it's nice to see, and it's nice to see that continue in a lot of places. This before and after shot sequence helps a ton because it's been hard to see that in other updates. Did they update Voss? What did it look like before? How much was updated? So these before and after shots I really appreciated.
And I do like just the concept that they're going through the galaxy bit by bit and doing the work.
Yeah. So maybe they will get to the character model updates at some point.
You know, when Blizzard did that with WoW characters, they did go through class by class, and so I was just getting ready to say, but they would have to they'd have to hold it back until they had everyone because it wouldn't be fair to just do some and leave
True,
some
and
on
it
the
would
old
take a
models.
while. We
But
like the date night or the
that's exactly what Blizzard did.
yeah, that would be tough. Then you'd have some people with half the poly count of other people, and they would lord that over them. Get out of here, you low poly scrub!
Here,
You can't
polys.
associate with us
Hello.
high poly people. Yeah. So we'll see what else we get in terms of art updates over time. The one idea that clicked when I was looking at the art updates, and I was wondering your perspective on this because you tend to feel this more than I do, and in a negative way, which is, do you feel like if they move away from the real stylized, cartoony art style into something that's more Unreal Enginetized, that you will like it less?
No, because I feel like it isn't cartoony enough the way it is now to qualify
For for
for
actual
non
stylized, yeah.
right, for being actually stylized, so
Yeah.
I think it can only be better. It can only get better.
Yeah. Yeah, it's definitely it definitely walks between styles. If you take something like Clone Wars, and if they had made the game in the style of Clone Wars, that would be really stylized, and then they could
Yes.
have
Yes.
sort of operated within that world in a
Yeah.
very time invariant way and not have to have ever updated it kind of. They could have still, made tweaks or updated
I
textures
mean,
and things like that a little bit,
right.
but
Yeah. Yeah, right,
but here I
I
saw
feel
some
like
more volumetric fog and, those
yeah.
kinds of things that
I
are
felt like they
fun.
were always going for realistic, and they're just taking a step forward in that.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't think they were ever going for realistic because even back then they could have gone. They could have really gone a different direction to go for a realistic look. The engines could have put up. Well, maybe I don't know, but they started with an engine that was quite old in their development cycle, so that would have been like 2005 where they started the development. So maybe this was as realistic as they could rationally get within the context
Right, like,
developing an
I
MMO.
think
Yeah, maybe.
if they could have done, like, more flowing fabrics and stuff like that, they would have. If you look at, yeah, if you
Yeah,
look at, like,
maybe.
WoW in the same, um, time frame, they were definitely more stylized, but they also didn't have flowing fabrics.
Like if that same team had started today, if they would have went straight to Unreal 5 and just made it as realistic as they could, wow, that'd be pretty interesting though. That's the game I kind of would want, which you kind of get a little bit in Jedi Survivor,
Right.
that kind of game. Let's see. Let's hit on a couple of these other things. What did you think of the event they announced? Why don't you describe
I
the
think
event and we can.
okay, so the spring event is they mentioned it in the last live stream, and the way they frame it is they have a fall event, they have a winter event, and they have a summer event, which
What's the
are
summer event?
that's Narshada
Nightlife?
nightlife, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Um, but they had a hole where spring goes, so they've
Mm-hmm.
been sort of mentioning a spring event starting with the last live stream, and so they gave more info about it this time, saying that it was coming. They didn't say when, except did point out that they had mentioned the word spring many times.
Yeah. It's coming by the end of this month. That was Keith's little addition, wasn't it? It may be coming out soon. Isn't that what he said? They were like dropping a whole bunch of puns and hints. It sounds like it's
Was
going to come out by the end of the month.
Did Keith show up today? Or are you
He
talking about the last
was,
time?
no, he was yelling at them from the wings.
Oh, yep. I missed that because at the end I had to
Yeah, it was
be
at the
in
end.
my AFK. Yeah, okay. Um, I think it might be really cool. I don't know. I like the idea they're adding in this event. You'll do some farming, some baking, some fishing.
Yeah,
These
little
are all kinds of
springtime activities.
activities, yeah, that could be really entertaining, or they could be really tedious. So,
We'll see. It's
like,
weird. I'm I was like if they were going to add fishing and farming, that's the kind of thing I would want to
to be around
to
all the
stick
time.
around.
Yeah,
And if it's
yeah.
going to be around for 2 weeks, how much of a farm are you going to farm up?
And I wondered why
And this, the
Dantooine
little pet thing. So it's fishing, farming, and creature rescue. You get little pens and you put a little pet in there. And, one of the things I was saying in my head was, well, at least they're doing something really interesting with the spring event. What did you guys want? Just like an Easter egg hunt? But then they had Easter egg hunt in earlier.
Well, and another thing, one of the things that just flashed by was like some roasting pit things with like
Yeah.
I don't know, not pigs, but those things, groffets roasting on them, and that actually is already exists as an asset in the soup races, which actually is live this week too, which is another thing we were talking about. So much stuff to do in games right now and running out of time. But the soup this week is the soup races in Star
Mm.
Wars Silver. Um, but that one I didn't think I would like, but I do end up finding it a lot of fun and very rewarding to spend time doing the soup racing. So I did not like farming how it was implemented in WoW, but I've loved farming how it was implemented in other games.
Is that the
So
Pandaria era
yeah,
farming? I did
yeah,
like that at the time. I don't know why. I was just
yeah.
tending my crops in Fallout 76 earlier today too. I'll talk about that maybe at the end. It's weird. I kind of don't mind farming here and there in
Well,
games,
yeah, and I think
especially if it's useful. Here, it sounds like you may be
right.
getting some cool decorations as a result of your farming efforts, and I like that. Like,
Or it might just be a daily that you have to do, and then
well, yeah, and then you get a
you
reward at
get
the
like
end.
rep or something for that. But
Look at these little
I don't
abandoned
know.
creatures. Save abandoned creatures to live on the farm. How long is this event gonna last?
Well, I mean,
They get to live there for 2 weeks, and then
Feast of Prosperity is several
and
weeks.
then
Life
we
Day is
eat
several
them.
weeks, and then we eat. Oh my god.
This I don't like. Well, I mean, it'd be fine. I'm sure we're gonna do an unmandatory fun night. The dancing around the laser maypole.
And share pie.
A pie I can deal with. But yeah. Oh, look, it's like a little pie eating contest that they were talking about, or pie judging. Yeah. And then find the eggs out in the world, which will not necessarily be in the same place every time. So,
And they won't light up like a mission item, so
uh,
but they're huge, so they might be okay to find.
I'm hoping we get some fun mandatory fun night group events out of some of this. This and then the other thing we're going to talk about next as well.
It doesn't seem like it though, does it?
Well, if there's like the egg thing, maybe,
Oh, yeah, I guess it
and
depends if
maybe like the
everyone
creature
on it.
thing, like because it looked like the person was on Hoth at finding a creature to bring back to their pen. So maybe there's a way that we all can go visit Hoth and go get
Yeah,
Tonlet, and then the maypole thing. It looks like a thing you need to do with other people, like the
like
meditation
the meditating,
style.
yeah.
And then tell us
Wait,
about
before we leave this, so why Dantooine, though? Because Dantooine is a farming planet.
yeah.
That's why Dantooine, but I kinda wish they would've picked a different because Dantooine already has an event. More than one event, really, because if you count swoop racing.
It's weird. Dantooine has an event, but when that event is not going on, it's Dantooine is perfect for this. Because when the event is going on, the pirates are coming and disrupting the planet. when the event is not going on, there's like not much going on there. So it almost seems like this in that way, it seems like a perfect setting.
Yeah, and I also feel like it's got room for it, and like you said, nothing going on there. There's a
Maybe
lot of
that's what
reasons
happens at the
for
end
it.
of the event. The pirates come and they shoot everybody and they burn your farms to the ground.
Andor comes to the Old Republic.
Yeah.
Anyway, okay, going on to Bessie.
Bessie, what is it? BES1. Yeah, B3S1. BESI, Bessie. So explain what Bessie is for people that don't know.
So it's somehow the culmination of the quest line with Lane Vizsla,
Mhm.
and you get like some version of Bessie that you, through painstaking and long efforts, transform and train, and it grows into this I feel like you can use it as a companion even
Yeah,
in its nascent form, but
kind of. Yeah.
maybe whatever. I can see if I go through this whole thing, and if this is a good companion, I can see it becoming my like right now. Shea Vizsla is my go-to,
Mm.
but if this is turns out to be a good companion, I could see it being my go-to because it is freaking adorable.
It it seems well animated. You know, one of the things that will make or break it for me will be the sounds, audio. If it's
Yeah,
if it's annoying beep 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 constantly, then it's staying in the stronghold.
yeah. Well,
I I
all of
judge
my
so many
droids,
of the companions by the things that they say and like their voice, their barks, their voice lines.
right? And I all of my droid companions, I've just never really used them that much. And in the beginning, it was because they didn't have any crafting bonuses, but that's not a reason now, so I don't know.
Right. They've introduced this. So we've had this story. It came up in the 7.5 content. We found these pieces of this basilisk droid. This is a small mini version of the basilisk droid, which Lane Vizsla, one of the characters, was trying to resurrect. They've implemented this though as a system, and they've described the system as their venture system. And this is the first implementation of that venture system. So the venture system is going to be a way to take this companion, in this case a companion, and maybe it doesn't even have to be companions in the future, I don't know, but take this companion and through a series of training events, dailies and weeklies, you're only able to pull it out and bring it along with you for short amounts of time and only a set number of times per week. And then as you're bringing it out, you're going to like train it up. You have different like tasks to train it. It's got to be trained as a tank and as a healer and as a DPS. So you're going to have to, you get like locked into a system. You get where you get locked into a form. It's like, so if you take it out as a tank, it has to be a tank for that excursion, and you have to do so many activities with it. I assume kill things with it. So it's learning as it goes, and then you're going to need to fill up each of its aspects of its training system over time until you completely unlock it. And then the other thing that they showed was the progression of as you as it matures and as you unlock more of its abilities week to week to week, it changes from a looks perspective as well. When it starts out, it's just sort of plain. It doesn't have all its armor parts on. Then it gets like big extra guns on its shoulders. So by the end, it's got shoulder plates, it's got arm plates, it's got big cannons on its back, and then it's in its final form when you completely unlock it. The venture system is while Bessie and this whole thing is sounds fun and it's content, I think it's going to be a fun addition to the game, and it's very designed for solo players to go after. Group players already have cool things to go after, like Wings of the Architect and the tank mount from the things you get from operations.
Hmm.
Solo players will get to do a thing now, and everybody's going to get to do it. Yeah, all of us
And
play solo too, but
I mean, I think that's going to be the point of all the ventures.
exactly.
It,
So this whole
this
idea
is a
of this
system
venture
for
system,
solo
I'm
players,
excited about. Yeah.
right? I mean, and I don't necessarily consider myself a solo venture, but I definitely do solo stuff. So I will definitely be doing this.
Yep.
I mean, I did the little pet in Kessen's Landing.
Did I? What was the pet in Keston's Landing?
It was the little Marvar. Yeah.
Marvor? I don't know if I bothered to get it. I will have to go back and
Yeah,
check. I just
Forster,
go
that's
and
a really good reminder. They did say it was a sub thing. You have to be subscribed.
oh, the Venture System and Bessie is a subscriber feature.
Yeah.
Correct. So that's that. But, you know, it can't have everything be for free. So I think
No.
that's fair.
I mean,
No,
yeah, you not only can you not have everything be free, you can't expect people to pay and then don't give them anything for it.
that's also the case. Eric seemed very excited about it here. I'll just do one or two last things. These are cartel market items. So character
From the okay.
customization.
Oh, Voss. Oh, yeah, that's right. Voss was where the Marvel was. But
Oh, right,
my
right. Where you got to feed
my
it
point was
like
I did that
20
one
days in
and
a
it
row.
was yeah,
I did not finish that.
it was more like 8 days, I think, but it was
My
yeah.
little guy is sitting behind that little building real hungry right now.
But it was not my favorite thing to do, and yet I did it. So I'm because I don't like looking for things, and you had to look for the things to make his food with.
Look at this. They got these watermarks on all of these video. Work in progress, art not final. Are they worried about what? You don't need to do that. Just tell us that it's not final. Whatever.
Well, maybe someone said, "Can we please show these?" And someone else said, "No." And
Yeah.
then he said, "Well, how about if we put a watermark on them?"
I
Well, okay.
liked just so a couple cartel market things, but they're good. Is it Brad who does all the cartel market stuff? He's so good. I I don't want to like cartel market stuff constantly, but I do like this helmet. Why do I love this helmet? Like I got the helmet behind me on the shelf. And it's a lot like that helmet, but cooler. Like my real life helmet. It's got the rainbow stuff on the visor. It's got gold, the shiny gold accents. That is a
Yeah.
cool helmet. That looked to me like a helmet that you would like. Do you like the helmet?
I as far as helmets go, yes, I do like it.
The other
But I
thing that I thought you would really like, where is it? The other, it's the pants. Did you see the pants on that?
oh, yeah, I did like that. I kinda wish they would have shown it on
A
um
chick.
yeah.
Yeah, look at those baggy pants
I do like the baggy pants and
that like gather above the
the
big old boots.
yeah, and the baggy sleeves, the bagginess, I like it.
Yeah, that looks really good. I bet it looks. This is some of the sort of like the updated graphics, advanced graphics. They weren't able to do this in the old days. That looks really good. Oh, that's right. Oh crap. Oh, I forgot. Thank you, Eflux. How did you know? How do you know about my, my nightlife travails? The helmet is a nightlife thing. Damn it. I'm never going to get that helmet. Twitch has got a problem. It's their little thumbnails when you hover over the bar when you're trying to like seek to something. The thumbnails do not match up with the part in the video. They're out of sync. Yeah, that's the high stakes squadron helmet for nightlife that's coming July 9th. Oh, I'm never going to get that. And then Brad, it's Brad, right? Correct me if I'm wrong. Chat room if
Yeah.
it's not Brad, but he made this model of the little gonk droid, the claw machine gonk droid. But not only did he make it, he like 3D printed it and painted it and put glass on it and put the claw inside is separate so you can see it swinging around in there where Jackie's holding it. And then if you like set it down or like bounce it in your hand, it's got LEDs in there and it lights up and it flashes. So she was like banging on it and it started flashing and lighting up. Look at, she's all red about something. She keeps getting embarrassed on the stream. All right. Well, that's enough SWTOR for now. I think when 7.5 comes out, we'll do a whole episode on it. Does that make sense?
Yeah, yeah.
And we'll get in there and we'll play it. We'll play with the droid and get a feel for it. And we'll give you some updates on that. Okay. Also, in terms of events, spring events, I don't know if this is really a spring event. This event has come around before in Fallout 76. The reason I'm bringing it up as a little bit of news is because I'm playing it quite a bit. Maybe by the end, I'll tell you all the things that I'm doing. But there is a spring event and Fallout 76 just got an update. So the 1.7.11.12 update. Wait, what is this? Update version 1.7.11.12 ampersand sizes. Oh, this is the sizes of the update on each of the corresponding platforms. They did some bug fixes. They did some balancing. They nerfed some weapons. It sounds like there was a flamethrower weapon that came recently into the game, and they made some balance adjustments to that. And then it seems like they did some stealth nerfs to one of the really cool alien blaster weapons that are coming in the event that just started for the next 2 weeks. So, a little bit out of character, not really in the theme of Fallout, but there's an alien invasion event in this. It, in terms of artwork and retro future theme 50s, it looks like what the 50s version of an alien invasion movie would look like. It's a big flying saucer that appears in the sky, and the aliens are 1950s style aliens, and the robots and Klaatu Barata Nikto style event. Anyway, once an hour, at the top of the hour, the aliens come. You can join the event on the public map and go fight the aliens. And then there's a bunch of rewards you can get. There are cosmetic rewards. There's little decorations for your camp. There are weapons you can get. I got this headlight. I got this table. I got a couple things already, but I did not get the alien blaster, which has been up until this point one of the best blaster pistols, especially laser blaster pistols in the game, one of the best overall. The question is it still, now that they've done the stealth nerf to it? Nobody knows. I'm still going to try to get it because it's cool and fun anyway, and I might make a build around it. I really like my 10 millimeter. That's for a different time. If we get to it by the end, I will tell you about that later. Also, this is something we may talk about later. In terms of later, we may spend next week talking about this on the show, make this our deep dive. Starfield had a bunch of announcements today and in the last 2 days. Official announcement from the studio, an interview with Todd, which talked about it a little bit more. They have an update coming out this month on May 15th. And they have their expansion set up to sort of like a bigger content expansion coming in the fall. Looks like a bunch of fun things even coming as early as May 15th. We'll explore it a little bit more in detail next week, but ship decorating, a bunch of settings to make the quality of life stuff happen in the game if you want it to, like carry capacity and vendors having more currency on them. Survival settings, which I'm interested in, so that you can tune it so you have maybe make the game feel a little bit more like a survival game. And then maps, which is something that people have been wanting for a long, long time, to have a better map system. So we'll dig into this. Maybe we'll wait to the 15th. Maybe we'll do that. Maybe we'll wait 2 weeks and then have Lars on and go live. Lars
yeah.
has also been creating a video series. He's released the first 2 videos. Check in our Discord for that, or find his, we'll have to link to his YouTube channel. But he did a huge playthrough, and he's got the first 2 episodes of his playthrough, just him playing through the entire game of everything that he's doing in Starfield. And he said he's got enough for about 80 episodes. So he's just doing straight up playthrough and nothing fancy, but that's always fun to see. We're going to get Lars on to talk about some Starfield either next week or when this goes live in 2-3 weeks. Sema, here's a bit of news. Why is there no BlizzCon this year? So this was announced, right?
Yeah, I mean that's a really interesting question. I mean, I don't know the answer, but we talked back and forth a little bit about. But basically they said they're skipping BlizzCon this year.
Blizz can't.
They didn't say why. And one of the things I wondered, just out of the blue, nothing really to go on, but if maybe they didn't have, like, maybe they wanted to do their updates for each game in a more asynchronous manner, because having to do them all at BlizzCon, because at a particular time of year they have a lot to say about one game, but maybe nothing to say about this other game and nothing, a little bit about this game, and so maybe they're thinking, um, for WoW announcements, we'll go to an appropriate show and do that. Or, I mean, another irresponsible idea is that maybe it was Microsoft had something to do with it. They would rather them do it a different way.
Maybe,
Um,
or just because they're now still just coming out of the transition period where everything's sort of been in a little bit of an upheaval, that while everybody's still integrating into the new organization and under Microsoft's guidance, that they just didn't get around to getting enough time to put BlizzCon together.
maybe,
I don't know.
and when you think about it, a company like Microsoft probably does have ways that they do public announcements.
Mhm. And in fact, there's a big Xbox and Microsoft
Yeah,
Studios stream coming up in about a month. That's supposed to be a big deal, and they have that, like, the Xbox Direct stuff. Maybe they wanna first align all of the communication plans and then see about BlizzCon going forward. The blog post where they talk about it specifically says they do wanna do BlizzCons in the future, and they're just as excited as ever to bring BlizzCon back in future years, but, yeah, no BlizzCon this year. I did think it was weird just because it's such a huge year, but it's a huge year for WoW, and as you pointed out, not that huge a year for anything else.
right.
Overwatch or Diablo or StarCraft or anything else. So,
I know, and with Diablo and Overwatch both, I think on Game Pass now, maybe that's maybe that gets rolled up into a different style of announcement. I don't know,
yeah, I don't know either. So
but we'll
we'll
find
see.
out. I mean, we'll see is a better way of putting it. It's not like we're going to go do investigative journalism and find out. We'll
Gonna
just read the articles and let you know.
Phil, get Phil on the phone. I gotta find this
Yeah,
out. Yeah,
yeah.
that's gonna happen. Then I was pointed in this direction. So our final bit of game news, just in terms of games that could be relevant to our interest, but I don't know how relevant to my interest, is Star Wars Hunters. A couple of people said, "Hey, Star Wars Hunters has finally got a release date. It's going to be released in June, I think June 9th or something like that." This is a mobile game by Zynga. So this is a Microsoft thing now too. Everything's coming up Microsoft. This is coming out on iOS and Android. It's called Star Wars Hunters, and the only gameplay that's been revealed was
playing the
oop,
graphically rich game.
was this tiny little bit at an Apple keynote event. And when I looked at this, it looked to me to be like Overwatch, like an Overwatch style game with
Playing the gra-
It's say muted. I didn't say unmute. I said play it over again. Uh yeah, it looks like doesn't it? It looks like squad v squad. It looks like Overwatch. Looks like Overwatch except Star Wars characters. So I don't know. I don't know what this game is. And then it's mobile. So it's iOS and Android. I never got why you would want to play like an action, like an action fighting game like this on a mobile device. I never understood that. As opposed to a turn-based game or a click game. Although I didn't mind playing, but even that, I didn't mind playing Diablo Immortal. I kind of liked that. That seemed to work well for me on as a mobile game. But that was still a lot of click. That was a click game. Click to move, click to attack. This looks like your standard, you know, move with the thumbstick, shooter, use your abilities, play an Overwatch style of fighting game. And I never really liked playing that on a mobile device. My hands get sweaty, right? Or whatever. Whatever it is, trying to and you can see it on the left here. There's the circle with the little circle on it. That's
Mhm.
how you control your characters. So you got to
Right.
with your thumb, that's how you're moving around. You're just sliding around in the thumb. And then the circles on the right, I assume, are your abilities. So you're cramped, like holding this flat thing and like sliding. It's no tactile feedback, and you're sliding your left thumb around on the screen, and then you're tapping these buttons on the right side of the screen. Who wants to play it like that besides like,
Kids.
like a billion people on the planet?
Yeah, right. Right. Like a billion people.
I mean, Zynga doesn't sell any games, do they? Anyway, so maybe not for me, but it looks interesting. Yeah,
I like her outfit.
it looks like Overwatch. It looks like Overwatch on a mobile device, except for Star Wars. Anyway, we'll see what it is, and that's going to come out later. That just caught my eye as news. Thanks, as always, to all of you out there for following and listening to us. If you need any subscribe links or audio or video, you can find all that stuff on newoverlords.com. Special thanks to everyone that hangs out with us live here on Twitch or in our Discord, where we talk about fun stuff pretty much all day, every day. Boy, we were hitting on quite a few games in our Discord the last few days. A lot of Fallout 76 talk lately, but still keeping up with Ark and Starfield and a few other things that were going on in there, some Star Wars talk. Also, don't forget, if you're looking for a big family-friendly gaming community where we do most of our Star Wars gaming, including our streams on Thursday night, where we're streaming our operations team, all that is out of our gaming community, Alea Iacta Est. That's where Sema and I have our characters and where we play all the MMOs. You can find that at aie-guild.org. The AIE Discord is the place you want to go in there to jump in and join our guild on Starforge or on Shea Vizsla. Mostly on Starforge, both Republic and Imperial. We've got a handful of people holding down the fort on Shea Vizsla and doing events there once a month and doing conquest, winning planets, all this kind of stuff on Shea Vizsla there too. So that has been very fun. All right, we played a little bit of a survival game this week, didn't we, Sema?
We
I
did.
want to survive.
Say it again.
I want to survive.
Louder.
I want to survive.
Come on.
I want to survive.
Like you mean it.
I want to survive.
Louder.
I want to survive.
Yes.
All right. This is a survival game. It is an interesting take on a survival game, isn't it? So you wanted to, you wanted
Yeah.
it. You got it. You got me. You roped me into this.
Right.
She roped me into this. You described this. Wow, that was.
I have
weird.
to say it wasn't hard though. I DM'd Max one night and I said, I think I kind of want to play, check out Grounded, especially since it's on Game Pass and I have Game Pass now. And he's like, oh yeah, let's do it.
Done. Installing now. Are you in yet?
Right. So I don't know if you guys noticed, but Max is really into survival games and I have been less so. I'm more than willing to try them all out, but I'm just not that into it and also not that good at it. So this game though was a little bit different experience for me. Still not good at it, don't get me wrong, but it was way more, I hate to use the word immersive because it's so overused, but I found myself in this game way more in that zone where you're like not aware of time passing
Hmm.
and you want to do just one more thing and then one more thing and then the pie has burned, those kinds of things.
Mhm.
And then you're late to a podcast, stuff like that.
You're getting the feel. You're getting the feel of what you get with
Yeah,
these
so
sandbox games.
and once I started, I wanted to play a certain amount so that we could talk about it. So I had that, in front of me too. I do want to play to the end because it doesn't, I don't know if story is the right word, but you're on a quest, right? And I want to see the quest through to the end. And I did see, in Game Pass, it gives these estimates about how many hours to finish.
Yeah, I saw that.
And this one, it said 27 hours. That was just the main game. There's other things that you can do, but the fact that it has that sort of ending on it makes me feel a lot more like I can do it because I'm an MMO player. So when I start a new game, I think, oh, do I have time for this game for the rest of my life?
Right. Well, this is my life now.
Right. So that got me into it. Then one of the things I really liked about it early on, and part of it is I'm getting a little more familiar too, but like the way you move, the way you grab things, and the way you jump and crouch and everything else is exactly the same in all the other games. It's WASD movement, it's press E to pick things up and interact with things, but it just seems to work better.
It is very polished. That's
Yeah. And so, like, when I'm going somewhere, I do get hung up sometimes on low-hanging leaves,
oh,
but
right
that
there,
is
like I just did in the video. I'm showing
that
this is my playthrough that we
but
were doing
that
on
is
Monday.
not that is not getting caught on the train. That is those you're
Right,
supposed to have to crouch to go under those things.
right, or jump over them,
Yeah.
or build a
Or
bridge, or whatever you're
yeah,
supposed to
yeah,
do.
yeah.
Right.
It there it's not one of those instances that we run into all the time in other games where you're just hung up on the train and you have to, like,
Yeah. This
just,
is a this is a triple A game. Now, we
yeah.
throw that term around. I expect that this cost $60 million to make. It was made by Obsidian. So Obsidian is a full
Yeah.
studio.
They
It
made Neverwinter Nights. They made,
They're owned by
that
Microsoft now. This was published by
yeah.
Microsoft, made by Obsidian. It was made so this was we're talking about it now because it's also continued to have updates to it and continued to be very well. Oh, you can mine those nails. All right, I got to get back to that. That's where you get the metal. Oh, why did I not see that before? Anyway, I just saw that in my video. I just walked right past it. Uh, it was made, it went into early access in 2020. It was fully released in September of 2022, and now has had a couple game updates as well. So it's not even to like a 2.0 release. It's like 1. Whatever all the numbers that we were saying earlier. It has had a couple updates. They name their updates, and it's a solid game. It is very polished, very well done. And we've heard about it for a while. I've been wanting to play it for a while. I don't know why it took me so long. It does fit it into a weird spot, though, from an outside perspective, from a first impression perspective, wouldn't you say? So let's talk about that. I named a couple categories. We put some notes in here, just like five things to talk about that we really like about it. So tell me your thoughts on the personality. Does this look like a kid's game to you? Because that's kind of what
Well,
had me not into it, not trying
right,
it sooner.
right. And that in a way, that was kind of why I was attracted to it because I thought, "Oh, well, I'll be able to do better because it was designed for kids," and
Hmm.
as opposed to Ark, which is designed for people who are good at survival games and who are also tolerant of things being dangerous and janky.
Yeah.
Um, and this one is, as you just so ably demonstrated, dangerous.
Yes. It's a
Like the first,
survival game
but
with
because my character is a child, they're actually described as teens. I was wondering how death was going to be portrayed, and that's how it is. You get the big words, you fall over backwards, and you get these big words on the screen. You died. Then there's some tongue-in-cheek description of it underneath
yeah, it
too.
just said I got dunked on by a orb weaver.
Yeah.
Yeah, thanks.
So, so it, in my game, because I played the mild version, because I
Hmm.
wanted to give myself every opportunity to be
The
successful.
difficulty level. There's 4 difficulty levels and then like a
3.
million in custom settings.
Yeah.
So you did more of a story mode. I was doing the
Yeah.
regular mode, and then there's like I think like 2 harder modes.
No, there's just 3 modes
Oh,
altogether,
okay.
I think. It's like mild and then whatever yours is called, normal maybe, and then, whoa.
Whoa. Whoa. The Keanu
But what
Reeves
I was
whoa
really
mode.
happy with too, when you wanna jump up and climb up on things, it works very intuitively. And I wonder if that's partially because it was designed for both console and PC. I mean, I don't know if it was designed for PC, but it works really well on PC, but maybe that that having to be able to do things with only a limited number of controls maybe
Maybe.
simple makes mean they have to simplify things a little bit, but I don't know. Um, and so far when I've been like in combat, all I've ever done is just repeatedly stab things or bash them or whatever. I just go click, 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 click till they die or I die.
Right.
So I
Well, we'll talk
haven't done
about
it. I
combat
haven't done
in it,
any
but
yeah, I haven't done
yeah,
any sophisticated combat.
yeah, because there is slightly more sophisticated combat. We'll talk about in a
Yeah.
second how sophisticated it is, but
Yeah.
art style. What's your thoughts on the art style?
Okay,
'Cause
so
I think this,
I really like the art style.
yeah.
That is one of the things that really appeals to me. I love the portrayal of the plants, the dirt, the bugs,
So
like
you're
the
shrunken down.
bug
You're for people that aren't familiar. We didn't really
yeah.
give the setting. Yeah, it's Honey I Shrunk the Kids. You wake up, you like a briefcase parachutes out of the sky, and then you're gonna have to figure out what happened to
And
you.
it's called a kid case.
The kid case, and you pop out. You're one of 4 kid characters, and you have to pick your kid character, and then you pop out of the suitcase, and you're in a yard, and you're the size of an ant.
There's no character customization.
Right.
It's just
It's
like
just you pick one of the 4 characters.
you
You're
pick one of the 4, right? Which
Max or Allie Hoop,
I
or
kind of appreciate because then you do you don't get stuck in there picking your perfect character. You just pick one and go.
yep.
And, you picked this one who's named Max, and I picked one that's named Hoops, and I think they have similar personalities even,
I
just
think
based on what I've heard you say.
it seemed like they do, and I listened to there's like the the 3rd one is a nerdy kid. He seemed pretty nerdy, so I don't he's not as cool as Max. He
Well,
seemed
Hoops, I guess
quite
like,
nerdy.
Hoops, when she goes in the lab, one of the things she says is that, "The purple thing looks nerdy."
She's sporty.
Yeah,
She's a jock.
she's
Uh,
yeah, she's so she does use a few, like, sports analogies when she's like, when she sees an ant, she'll say, "That ant's got some moves."
so you pick one of those 4 characters, you're shrunken down to the size of an ant, but the whole world, as you said, art style, it looks well rendered. It looks stylized in a way that doesn't look old or super modern either way.
Right.
It still has relatively modern like depth of field and volumetric effects and lighting effects that make the stylized world feel really good. And yeah, you do. You feel good. The ants look like good like life-size ants. You really feel like you're small. And you can change a lot of these settings. You can change the depth of field. You can change the way some of this lighting works. They recommended keeping the depth of field on, and you can see it in the video that I'm showing here. The roses are really out of focus way in the background. And when you go to change, if you want to shut off depth of field, it says there, this really does make it more immersive and make you feel small when things are really out of focus like that and very far away. Whereas if everything was completely in focus, then it's just like roses sitting there. It might feel just like you're a human size and not ant sized. So art direction is quite good. Tone. So is this a kid's game? It's not a kid's game because it's quite complex and a lot of detailed mechanics. It's a full survival game, just as much as maybe not as much as Ark, but definitely as much or more than Small Land, which is another you got shrunken down, but it's less sort of like kid themed. Uh, maybe I'm trying to think of sort of
Uh,
other in between
but
survival
having
games.
having said that, I think if you're a parent and you want to introduce to your kids something interesting,
Yeah,
and once you develop some expertise yourself, you can go in and make a custom version of the game just from the settings.
right.
You could eliminate everything you wanted to. You could get rid of spiders, you could get rid of bugs altogether, you can, um
Make things easier or harder. All of
right,
yeah,
right.
100 different custom settings.
Yeah,
A lot of the survival games, the sandbox survival games, do that in a custom game mode.
yeah,
Like Ark has 1,000 settings.
right, but that's also well, yeah, I mean, it's on a personal server.
Right. And this is a personal
This
game. There is
yeah, personal
multiplayer
game.
and there are personal servers to this, and there weren't originally. You can play multiplayer by sharing your game and having other people join you in sort of like a peer to peer mode, or you can play on a dedicated server. However, it's it's very story driven. So that's the kind of the sort of like the next thing we can sort of talk about.
Yeah,
I
yeah, because what do you mean when you say that? Like, I think it's a very I don't know. Like I said, I'm not sure that story is even the right word.
You are small, you got dumped into the backyard, and your mission is to embiggen yourself. You need to get
Right.
home.
Right.
And when you
And then you have to
do,
do
the game is over. And
right.
then you either start a new game, whereas a lot of other survival games will be a sandbox where you might potentially live there forever. Ark, you can set up your base and you can get dinos and you can just sort of like it doesn't necessarily end. You can fight the master bosses of any particular map in Ark, but that doesn't mean it's over. It so it's much more sandboxy. And then when a game like Dune Awakenings comes out, that's not that's not gonna be story driven in the fact that there's a beginning, a middle, and the end. Whereas this, there definitely is. It's sort of designed that way in my mind.
Yeah,
That's my
I
definition
can
of
see
it.
that. I just think whenever someone says to me very story driven, I think very deep story. And this is very
Yeah,
not
no, I
deep.
meant yeah, good
The
point.
fact that
And to me,
you
it
meant the
means
fact that it exists at
driven.
all.
Yeah, driven
Yeah.
by the narrative, driven by your activities are driven by a story as opposed to your activities driven by pure sandbox or action or gear RPG levels and gear like a MMO potentially, even though some of those have very very strong story elements. This is story driven in the fact that the reason you're doing these things is to continue through the story. And once you get to the end of the story, it's done. Because once you're big, you're not small.
Yeah. So you just mean not a sandbox.
Right. Although there's definitely the sandbox elements. So not
Yeah,
to downplay those because
right.
some
Because
people have built like big bases.
and I for one am never going to finish it in that 27 hours. I feel like the person who finishes it in 27 hours probably got so much more done in their first hour or their first 4 hours, than I did.
If you paid attention to as it guides you along in the upper left, where it's telling you what to do, go do this thing. I think if you just did those things as they come to you and did each thing next as it tells you to do it, you could probably get done in 27 hours.
Yeah. But I can't do that because
Well, because there's other interesting, fun things to do.
well, yeah. Or I get lost trying to find whatever that thing is, and then I die, and then my project is to go back and get my stuff, and then I
Yeah,
think, "Well, I shouldn't carry my stuff with me, so I'm gonna make a basket, and put it down in this place," you know?
right. And might have fun, like building a thing and,
Yeah.
experimenting with some of the gear. Yes, I could build the thing it's telling me to build and go do the thing it's telling me to go do, but maybe I want to try some of these other things along the way. And that's perfectly
But I
fine.
think
And that's a little bit of the sandboxiness.
I think part of the visual of it is what makes it seem more accessible to me too, like, the whole thing about in survival games where you spawn naked, that my aversion to that is partially visual, right? Like partially visual, partially it just makes you feel that much more vulnerable, right? Which I think it's supposed to.
Yeah,
But I do like that in this game you're not naked, you're just wearing your normal clothes. You you can make armor
right.
eventually. I made some armor. But you just put it on over your clothes. It's not like you're naked till you can figure out how to make armor.
Because you're just in a yard, so one of the other categories we had here, which sort of plays into the environment and theme and story, is I think exploration is done really well in this game, better than I expected it to be. Because you're very small, yes, it's just a yard. There's like an oak tree in the middle of the yard. There's a koi pond. It's a single yard. However, I really got the feel of just as much exploration as I do like in Ark and having this huge map with like mountains and the
Right.
and
And
a
it's
big
it's almost
volcano
like
and
I mean, there's not necessarily different climates or anything, but it's almost like different zones too.
almost different biomes. Yeah, I and good traversing the areas, getting around is difficult and takes a long time. And you do get the feel of exploration and getting into a new area and seeing it for the first time and going, oh, wait, there's thing over here. Oh, what is this thing? And
Or, "Oh, no.
oh no, there's another
Why is
giant
there
spider
green
coming
gas
to eat my
everywhere?"
face. Another giant bug that wants to kill me. I think that feels really good in this game, as it should in sort of a survival sandboxy kind of game like this. So I think they've done well there too.
Another thing that helped for me for this game to be more accessible to me than others is, and I think this is true maybe in Enshrouded too, but there's no encumbrance, or if there is, it just happens at such a high number that I haven't run into it yet.
Right. I don't think there's a weight encumbrance. There's just a slot
Yeah, just
limitation.
a regular
But you get
inventory.
you're right. You get a lot. You get a lot of space, and the chests that you build have a lot of space.
Yeah.
I did not feel the pain of encumbrance like, oh, like I'm really feeling
And
right
you
now in
only
Fallout
drop mats.
76.
When you die, you only drop mats, which is, I know that's some other games are like that too, but you can go back and get your backpack if you want, but if you don't want to face whatever killed you, you
Right.
can just collect the mats again.
Right. And getting there's a big marker on the map in the distance in your field of view to where your backpack fell so you could go back and get it. And the bugs don't seem to like camp your backpack. Like when you get killed by a spider, it seems to like wander off and go do its thing. So I've never had problems getting my stuff back, even when I've like gone in and poked a spider in the face. So I think that's done pretty well as well. Here's a big stink bug gonna like I'm running away. Run away. So I like that exploration. Another aspect of the exploration that I kind of like is your exploration is also rewarded. The bugs you find, the places you go, and the currency, the quote unquote currency, I really kind of like. In fact, I had ideas around this kind of currency for other game ideas that I've sort of experimented with in my head. What they call it here is raw science. So what you're doing here is each thing that you sort of analyze that you picked up off the ground is you get like science credits. That's the currency. Raw science is the currency. And then that builds up over time and you can use that and you can sort of like spend it in a store. I like that idea of the discovery and exploration being rewarded with a currency or just some sort of counter, some sort of uh,
Right.
marker that yes, you found something interesting. You explored out there. You found a new bug. Good job. And here's a number that goes up. Because then if numbers go up in a game, that's great. We all love it when numbers
You
go
like.
up.
Yep.
Yeah. I ran out of arrows. I was shooting this stink bug in the face. He got sort of trapped there by some weeds, couldn't get to me, and I ran out of arrows. So then I learned I need more arrows. So let's move on to that, the combat. What is your feeling on the combat so far?
Well, like I said, I haven't had any issues with it because all I do is click. I mean, to shoot or punch or stab someone is just left mouse key.
Yes.
Left mouse button over and over.
Left mouse button.
Yeah. So that's what I meant by clicking. So you have to keep the dot on them, which so you have to stay
You have to
oriented and
right,
everything, but
it's action combat. It's not tab target.
right, right. But it's very forgiving,
Yes. Here this
which
Weaver got
I
stuck.
made the same comment when we played Enshrouded. I felt like it was easy to hit things, and I like that. If you're an Elden Ring player, then
Well,
not,
you
this
saw
might be
someone describe this as
well, what yeah,
potentially Souls-like,
right. And
and we debated that a little bit.
I think what that person meant to this was someone who made a video. I think maybe what they were getting at is don't expect it to be a kid's game. There is death, and you do have to learn things to avoid death. And I don't know.
There is the combat is reactive when you start getting into advanced combat. You can switch weapons, there's a block. The right mouse button is block, left mouse button is and you move during combat and when you're fighting each particular bug, it's got a move set. So you may be fighting it and it rears up on its back legs and that's when you know it's going to do like this spider's doing it. When it rears up on its back legs, it's doing its web attack. And when it puts its head down and makes this sound, it means it's doing its charge attack. So you can be ready for those and learn its move set and use your weapons. And then the bugs also have weakness to different damage types. So a bug might be weak to pointy, sticky, stabby weapons, or it might be weak to, like the ladybugs are weak to smashy, blunt weapons because you're breaking their shell kind of thing. However, it's not Souls-like from the perspective of you get into a boss fight, you encounter a boss in some sort of arena, and you need to die over and over and over again in order to progress your muscle memory enough to be able to get through the fight. It's not that. Here, it's that's what I death as the tool to progress is what I consider Souls-like.
Yeah.
Very reactive, very complicated move sets, very complicated ability sets to respond to those move sets, and death as the tool to progress.
And this, on the other hand, though, this was a person who had put hundreds of hours into the game, and maybe there are bosses at
Hmm,
some point that you do have to learn.
maybe. I watched a
Uh,
bunch of the boss fights and I did not see that.
okay. Yeah, I didn't.
Like
I
this
didn't.
this fight with this orb weaver, I'm kind of cheesing it because I'm standing up on a stick, but as I fought like the ladybug head to head, I it's got like a lot of the bosses seem to have like three moves, and you move around, maybe you switch between your weapons, maybe you swap weapons a little bit, or maybe just dodge, duck, dip, dive, and dodge, and get in there and smack them with your club when you hit them. Even the
Or maybe you just do
bigger,
what I do, which is just hit left mouse button.
I think you'd, yeah, I think it's with some of the bosses, I think it would be a little on the harder modes, especially. I think you will need to use
Oh, on the
use all your
bosses,
movesets.
I thought you meant just on everything. No, I don't know if I mean, I would have to be really motivated to actually even do a boss fight.
If
Like, you can't progress if you don't.
I think that might be the case in a couple of these situations. What it sort of seemed like. It seemed like some story steps that include
I wouldn't be surprised.
you need to get through this in order to discover what this is guarding, kind of thing. So that's the combat, but the combat felt fun and effective and not overly complicated. Not a ton of different, it's just left mouse button, right mouse button. There's not like an ability set, like you got like 5 abilities that you need to be casting. There's no casting of abilities, but you can switch weapons at any time during the fight. So that's where some of the complexity might come in. You can move. There's not dodging, but there's blocking and fighting. So I don't think there's a dodge, but it still felt solid. And then the final part that I figured I really like, and they do pretty well in this game. Not as detailed and complex as some of the other sandboxy games, but the
Mhm.
crafting and building. So what were your thoughts on crafting and building that you
I
got into so
I'm
far?
I do like that you're showing it right now, the analyzing thing. So whenever you pick up something new, you can take it back to an analyzing station and analyze it, and then you learn a bunch of recipes. But that's not the only source of recipes. You also earn recipes just from, I mean, if doing other things. So at this point in my gameplay, I have way more recipes than I know what to do with. So there's no lack of recipes,
Right.
which is kind of cool. And in all the survival games we've played together, I've never made my own armor once. You've always made it for me, or Lucy has made it for me. In this one, it was really easy to make my first set of, because it was made from all things I could just pick up off the ground right close to where you start out.
Right.
And right close to where you start out is also not that dangerous. So,
Right.
um,
That's a
so
good point.
yes, I like the crafting. It's like at first, well, yeah, some things are bug parts, so you're gonna have to go out and kill bugs, but a lot of stuff you can just find on the ground.
Yeah. It's solid. It's solid from a crafting perspective. And you're right. I like that progression where you discover each new material you get, you take it and analyze it and says, "Oh, now you can make these 3 things because you've discovered this thing." Valheim, I think that did that the best. It felt the best to me. It wasn't the most complex system, it wasn't the most detailed system, but it felt the best in that way. But this gets pretty close, I think, as far as that goes. And then there's the building of the base. You build a little house for yourself, and they can be really complicated, and you get different building materials. Did you build very much, or did you just sort of have the lean-to?
I just have the lean-to and some storage boxes and a roasting spit at this point.
I wanted to get through some of like the story and the progress, so I did not,
Oh, why you kill that ant?
because
He wasn't gonna hurt you.
you need ant parts for certain things, and plus they're
Yeah, but
delicious. And plus, where is it? 121.
because it
I'm
ate
going.
it ate
I'm
your
going
meat.
in. So, there's survival games. So you have to eat and you have to drink.
Right.
And I found that onerous in the start, but obviously it gets easier when you build a canteen. You can bring some water along with you. But I was like thirsty constantly and hungry constantly, and you have to like look up above you, and the blades of grass might have a
But I mean, in
dewdrop.
art,
And
when you start out, you're hungry constantly and thirsty constantly
true,
and cold constantly and hot
this
constantly, and
seemed
then there's a
worse for
dino in your
whatever
face.
reason. For whatever reason, this seemed worse with the hunger and thirst. It felt like, at least for the first half hour, it felt like 80% of my time was food and water, as opposed to other games where it would
How are
be
you
like
getting water?
20%. What was that? How was I getting water?
Yeah,
Off of the dewdrops and off the leaves.
gotcha.
So you
Were
have to
you like
look up, and you have to like, you see a dewdrop, and you need to go to the base of that leaf, that blade of grass, whack it, and then the dewdrop drops on the ground. Oh, there he is, the little bastard.
That's one way to do it, or you can just throw a pebblet at it and it will fall.
Oh, that's right. You can huck things. I never did the hucking.
And that
Oh, I
just
should have done
so
that.
less time consuming, yeah, when you were
Or
in the
an
stage where
arrow.
you need to, yeah.
Well, then I
And
found a
then
source of water, clean water in the lab that,
in the lab, right? But I also made a water container and put it at the spout of that juice box,
oh, what?
and that collects water over time.
Oh, you're smart. See? Little
So when
little
I
person, big brain. That's what I said about Sema.
so when I, wake up in the morning, you know how you're extra thirsty in the morning?
Uh-huh.
And I can just run down there and
Oh,
slurp from that
man.
thing.
Uh,
But I mean, part of it is because it's not easy for me to find my way back into the lab. I'm getting better at it.
hmm.
But even after I found it the first time, when I went to go back there, I'm like, "Wait a minute,
Well, I built my
I'm
little
lost again."
I moved my camp and built my little base basically
Yeah,
right outside the door of the
yeah.
lab, because I
I
was like, "Oh,
actually
well, this is all
I'm
right."
actually that's where I have my lean-to now is almost in the same spot, like, near that juice box.
Yeah. So, making food, I'm making food. This happened on the stream on Monday, and I went I went nuts at the time. There's jump scares because the spiders will come and kill you. I yelled a couple times for that. But here, I'm in my inventory. I'm organizing the inventory. I'm hearing this sound. Clomp, 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 tuck, 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 tuck. I turn around. I close my inventory. I turn around, and back it up, back it up. I was roasting a bit of meat on the little spit. I turn around, and this ant came up and ate it right off of the spit. He chomped it. I'm like looking at him, like, what are you doing, buddy? What are you doing, little ant? And then the food was gone, and I realized he ate it. I got so mad. I chased him down and I murdered him. And then I
That is mad.
cooked him and ate him. The
I didn't
results.
know you could cook the ants.
I don't think I didn't have ant meat. I cooked the weevils and the aphids all the time.
Yeah.
But I had another piece of weevil meat that I cooked. But I was like, that was my lunch. I'm like dying here. I need food. And he ate it right off of the spit on the fire. I was so mad, that stupid little ant. So yeah. But I didn't, which I do in a lot of other games, I didn't spend a lot of time on architecture. In fact, I scaled it down while we were talking on Monday. I started this out, it was going to be like multi-story 5x5. And I scaled it back and said, I'm not doing that. Because I could spend a week just on building this thing and never progress in the story. So I said, no, I'm going to explore more of the game. I'm going to get through a little bit more of the story, especially as we're doing it here on Monday, because we're going to talk about it on Wednesday. So I did a little bit less of that, but I did look up what people are able to do, and it's a relatively detailed building system, not nearly as detailed as what you would get, say, in Valheim or in Shrouded or Ark, but that's okay. You can
Yeah.
still use different materials. You do need to build defensive structures because as you piss off various kinds of creatures, what happens is they'll get annoyed. Like if you went to the anthill and like wiped out the anthill, the ants will start to get really annoyed to the point where they will say, the ants, there's like some sort of counter or threshold behind the scenes, and you'll see a little message come up that says, the ants are really annoyed with you. And then it'll say, the ants have decided you must be gone. And then what happens within the next hour of gameplay at some random time, a bunch of ants will come and raid your base and try to kill you and wreck your stuff. So you need to fight off the ants. So you can build.
Oh, you didn't tell me that before when they raided your stuff that you deserved it.
No, I did. They didn't raid me. I didn't get a raid yet.
Oh.
So I'm still too early for that. And I didn't go. I just killed the one ant who deserved it. He was a
Oh,
renegade.
okay.
He was a jerk. Nobody liked him anyway. I didn't like go and murder a whole anthill. So there's other bugs I think that get like I think in this latest update they added wasps they're kind of factions. And I think if you go start murdering wasps, they get angry a lot more quickly and will come and raid your base. But there's ways to protect yourself a little bit. I think people can get frustrated if in any of these games, if your base gets destroyed. So you do need to be both prepared for that and mentally prepared for that to potentially happen to you. And maybe don't put all your eggs in one basket kind of thing. But it doesn't seem as punishing as some of the other games as well. I don't know how much they can destroy, at what point they can, what point they decide that
Right.
they're done, that their revenge is complete. Oh, look at the little mite is biting me, and I got to put those sticks down. Forster says they've seen someone build a bunch of zip lines. So you can build up high.
Oh, yeah.
You can build stairways so that they can't get up to you.
Highways. Yeah.
You can build
Highways.
zip lines to get from place to place as well. There's some advanced building that you can get going on. I've not seen, I said on Monday that I thought you could ride bugs. I don't think you can. What I was
I don't
noticing,
know. I saw a recipe. It was
it's a
oh,
mount,
yeah. It
but
means it's
mounts
mounted
its
on the
head on
board.
the wall.
Yeah.
Is
That's
what,
right.
yeah,
You're
because
right.
that's what caught my eye too. It's like, oh, an ant mount, like I can ride it. No, you're mounting its head on the wall.
No, it's just like
I don't know why I didn't take that ant's head that ate my ate my lunch and mounted its head on the wall. That's what I should have done.
this is what happens to ants who eat my lunch.
Yes. Let this be a lesson to all of you lunch stealing ants. Yeah. So yeah, I think that's a pretty good rundown. I had quite a bit of fun, and I had that feeling of wanting to go back to it. I don't know about you, but as you said,
Yeah.
you sort of want to play through it and both
Right.
find out what happened from a story perspective and unlock more stuff and find out what else I can do and build and see.
Yeah.
So thumbs up for Grounded.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. I mean, I'm kind of afraid to do the next step in the quest line. I have to go to the hedge is what I have to do. And
The Hedge Ascent.
yeah, and what I read a little bit about that and people were saying, "Oh, you better have this armor, that armor before you go." And I'm like, "Yeah,
Oh no, I just ran over there. I mean, you could. There were a couple things over there that you could. There's a couple bigger bugs you could run into, but it's just another area of the yard. I guess maybe that's what they mean. Maybe some bigger bugs.
now that ant did not do anything to you."
No, but see, I got red ant parts. You need ant parts to build some stuff. It's a resource.
That does not make it all right.
You gotta. There's a whole bunch. Well, if you're gonna like any of the armor, you're gonna have to make like ladybug armor next. You're gonna have to be murdering a whole bunch of ladybugs. And they didn't eat my lunch.
Um, well, I guess at that moment when you did it though, was your idea that you were gonna make ant armor?
It's a
Or
resource. It's a piece of
yeah,
candy.
that's
You
what I
gotta pick it
thought.
up.
That's what I
I'm
thought,
gonna
yeah.
bank it. I'm gonna need
Yeah.
need all of the stuff. Gonna need it eventually. All right. Well, I don't know what we're
Not
gonna talk about
necessarily.
next week. If we're
Because you
gonna put
might never make the ant armor. You might go right to ladybug armor.
if next week we're gonna push off the Starfield discussion, maybe next week we could take the show and just talk about some updates of the things that we've been doing in a bunch of games. Because I have a bunch of stuff to talk about from Fallout 76. We have the season updates and what we're doing in Star Wars: The Old Republic. And maybe we could do Monday night again in Grounded and see where both
Yeah,
you and I have gotten in
yeah,
Grounded and talk about that at
yeah,
that point too.
yeah.
But yeah, thumbs up on Grounded. It's a good one. And I think it's something people can continue to keep an eye on. And it's very good in 2024. So that's our
And I
summary
I
discussion.
also want to say, I know I've actually, and I say this all the time, but I've been outlining how it's easier, and that's why I like it. But there's, like we said in the beginning, there's a very difficult mode, and also you can make it more difficult. So if you're turned off by something by being easy, you can still play this game and be
Yes.
gratified by hard battles and complicated things.
I mean, even on regular mode, I was dying more than I do, probably as often as I have in Enshrouded and in Ark and those kinds of games, for one. And for two,
Uh,
the other thing that I would say is also there's enough complexity. So it's not a simple game. It might
yeah,
seem simple on the surface, and maybe you can play it as simple, but there's a lot of depth and complexity that you can get into if you want to, in the things that you can create, the structures that you can build, the defensive setups that you can get, the events that you can trigger, and then the story that you're executing. So there's a lot there. It's definitely well done. So
that spider came in your house.
yeah, it was just wandering around in there. This was this was when I first had the idea to stand up on top of that stick where the bugs couldn't get me, and then I
Yeah.
jumped and tried to go on top of the stick, and I fell in the water, and it was nighttime. So I decided that was a bad strategy, and then I could not get out of the water for a little while, and then I went to sleep, and I fought him again in the morning.
So two things that kind of annoy me. One we talked about was like when you cook something, it's tricky to get it off the spit. But the other thing is I got a little bit out of sync with day and night because I slept. Like I logged into the game and it was night, so I just went ahead and slept. But I think there was only a few minutes of night left. So
Mm.
then when night came again, I tried to sleep. It said, "You're too awake. You can't sleep until
Oh, that's rough.
XYZ time." Yeah, so
Interesting.
I got kind of bored because I wasn't really willing to do any big adventures.
Maybe you gotta stay up all night one night to get yourself
Well, I think
back
and
in
then the
sync.
very next night I was back in sync.
Yeah,
So,
because you can get torches and things like that too to
yeah,
light the
I do
way.
have a torch. So I went around just trying to get sprigs and
Yeah.
oh, he put his mark on your house.
Oh, Forrester reminded me that next week is V
Yeah, V
Rising.
Rising.
We might need
Hmm.
to do some V Rising. There's
Yeah.
another survival adventure game, except you have to suck people's blood, and Sema doesn't like that. You can only you could do it all with animals and just suck the animal's blood. You don't have to suck people's blood. So we'll see. We'll see if we're gonna get Sema to play V Rising.
Yeah.
We may not. All right. I think that's it for today. This was
Fine.
fun.
Point to know.
We will keep you up to date in all the places on what we're going to do next and what we're going to talk about next week, and maybe stream a little bit on Monday and talk about next Wednesday. All the links to keep up to date on everything that we're doing are on newoverlords.com, and the videos always go on YouTube/newoverlords. Please get on there and subscribe, because then we know who's there and what they're looking for. You can also come chat with us in our Discord any time of the day or night at newoverlords.com/Discord, and tell us what else we should be playing, and tell us what we're doing wrong and how we should be
Yeah.
playing all of these things better. So we will keep you up to date there too on when we go live and when the podcast gets produced, and all the audio versions are out in all of the places. And with that, we will talk to you soon.
Later, everyone.